Hello, everyone. This is Monsef Afker, and thank you so much for joining us in this new call of your divine uniqueness. So happy to have you with us, as always. And also really excited that Michelle Niver is back on the show. I really love her message, her energy, and always feel very excited when she joins us. And she's been joining us now for the past several seasons, and also received really amazing feedback from those of you who worked with her, and how your experience with her was very profound. So really happy for that, and also happy that she is back with us today. And for those of you who are new to her, she is a psychic development teacher, medium, light language activator, and consciousness explorer. And the subject today is out-of-body experiences and soul sovereignty. So so today she will be discussing that, and also how can we navigate the multidimensional aspects of reality that are beyond the physical, that we are seeing or sensing with our physical body, and how we navigate that, and also how can we connect to that aspect of us in a more sovereign state of being. Because sometimes it can be also, there can be some fears or uncertainty. So it's really important to approach that that unknown realm in a more sovereign way. So she will be sharing about that, and also we'll have a Q&A. So as always, if you are on Zoom, you can raise your hand by pressing react or reaction, then raise hand. If you are on the phone, you can press *9. And also you can type your questions on the chat boxes on Zoom and on YouTube. And yeah, so with that, Michelle, welcome back to the show. Happy to have you with us.
Thank you very much for having me back. I love coming on your show and watching your show. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah. Hi, Svetlana. And yeah, so in the beginning, I would love if you can maybe give us a short introduction about yourself and your work for those who are new to you.
Well, I'm Michelle Niver, and I was just from the beginning, I was a psychic child, and I had out-of-body experiences that I didn't understand, and my parents didn't understand it either. So I became a nurse and realized that I also had psychic abilities as a nurse, and realized that everyone had psychic abilities. And I had kind of stopped the out-of-body exploration for a little while because I was afraid. And then one day it just started coming back as I was having a spiritual awakening. So now I focus on, I'm still a registered nurse, but I do health coaching, not mainstream nursing. And I mostly do psychic readings, psychic development mentoring, light language activation, and helping people learn how to navigate consciousness outside of their body. It's just been a long progression of starting out as a scared Catholic child, having out-of-body experiences and encountering extra dimensional beings, to today being able to fall back on that experience and help other people not be afraid and realize that they're much more than who they think they are in this physical body.
Yeah, wonderful. And we are also talking about the subject today, out-of-body experience. Also, sometimes it can be scary. We can approach it in different ways. Sometimes we are excited because we want to discover more, to explore, and also maybe receive guidance or know more about the truth. But also there can be some fears, especially when we hear out of body. It's like we are leaving the body. So can you please talk about that and how you see this experience?
Yeah, I can. And I was afraid in the beginning too. But what I realized through studying consciousness is that we were never really originating from the body in the first place. Our consciousness doesn't originate from the body, and the body doesn't dictate our consciousness. Our consciousness is channeled through our body to have this human experience. And so when you realize that, you have a lot more you have a lot more control over your own consciousness and your own life. It's really empowering, and it helps you move forward in every aspect of your life. People are having out-of-body experiences every night. They just don't remember it. We're all doing it. Our consciousness can focus elsewhere when our body is asleep. There's nothing to be afraid of. We always come back. It's the same really as a near-death experience, except that the body stays alive. And people are afraid they'll get lost sometimes, but you won't. When the body comes back online, your soul gets pulled back in magnetically. It's just how is how it works. So soul and consciousness are interchangeable terms to me.
Mhm. Beautiful. And and also my next question is what is the purpose of having those experiences with intention? Um, do they help us in some way?
They do. It's very empowering, like I was starting to say, when you realize that you're not tied to this physical body. And when the physical body is offline, so to speak, you're not focused on it. Your consciousness can explore wherever it wants to explore. We're free to do what we want outside of here. We can visit with departed loved ones. We can visit with other realms of consciousness. We can command our space, and nothing can harm us out there. So when you realize all of that and you realize, wow, I'm actually out of my body right now, and it feels just as real, if not more real than being in my body, then when you come back to what we call the physical world, you don't have fear around death in the same way. And you don't feel as controlled because fear is the number one way to control a person or a soul. So that tends to diminish the more you have these experiences. And on top of that, we get a lot of guidance when we're out of the body and interacting with our guides and our seeing our true self and operating in that way. It just automatically increases our feeling of sovereignty and safety.
Yeah, wonderful. And my question is, for example, if when we have limiting beliefs and traumas, can they affect the out of body experience we have? And I'm asking this because a long time ago I was practicing lucid dreaming. I don't know if it's part of the out of body experience. Um, it was really amazing experience, really fun. But also at the same time, I found some things that were limiting me to do what I wanted during that state. So, what is the effect of those beliefs and traumas?
Mm. Fear is the biggest thing that gets in the way of having a controlled out-of-body experience. It will bring your nervous system and your brainwave state back to a place that doesn't allow you to explore outside of the body. Lucid dreaming, just to go there first, I feel like it's a continuum. That's how I see it, is from almost like remote viewing where we're still completely awake and we can see outside of here, to waking up in a dream and being able to navigate that dream or realize that you're dreaming, to astral projection where you're a little bit farther out but not quite in control, to completely out of body in a sovereign state. It's like a continuum, I think, of perceiving outside of what we call this physical reality. The fear state is a normal thing that we feel, and we all have to have a will to live, right? To make this reality work. And so it's a normal thing for us to have that fear of dying. And I've kind of lost track of the question at this point. I'm sorry, Monsaf. Could you
Yeah,
could you ask me again?
uh, I mean, the question was if we have limiting beliefs about
Right.
ourselves and reality, do they affect the out of body experience as well?
Yeah, so it'll stop you from having it, one. But the other thing that happens, and the reason I started to talk about remote viewing and astral projection, is that in those states, in that continuum from what we call awake to out of body, in the astral state, in dreams, what we fear manifests right away. We see it and it seems completely real. And we may see entities, we may feel like we're being held down, we may feel like we're being trapped somewhere. Our fears manifest in ways that seem very real. And so, if a person has a lot of traumas and a lot of fears, and you are projecting out of the physical body with your consciousness, you may see some scarier things at first, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. It means that it's an opportunity to learn to control the fear and to realize that we just need to command our space. There's nothing that's going to be able to trap us if we say no. It won't happen. So to answer your question, it does make it more difficult for a lot of people because one, the fear state may bring you back to the body, and two, you may see things in your own dimensional space, like in the astral plane that seem very scary, and they're generally a projection of your own fears there.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
would
absolutely.
say
And
that, oh,
yeah, go ahead.
I would say
Sorry.
that getting the nervous system regulated is a really important part of preparing to do conscious out-of-body experiences, because you can get your brainwave state into where you need to be for that to happen, but also you disconnect from fear more easily when you start to do practices like conscious breathing or listening to theta and delta binaural beats. It will help regulate the nervous system and just more easily let go of all those other traumas. But I think just knowing too, we project a lot of those fears in a way that's scary, that our guides and our higher self are giving us an opportunity to move past that fear. I had a dragonfly as big as my head land on my face in an experience once, and I found out later I didn't really need to scream or try to knock it away. It was me being prepared for the next thing that was going to happen, which was going to be even scarier looking. So sometimes we're being prepared in that way, and when we embrace it, we get to move to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Beautiful. Earlier, Mia Shiraz sounds terrifying. Lol. Um,
I don't mean for it to. It's really
yeah,
not. It's beautiful experience.
yeah, and and also, so the question is, how can we create a safe space where we feel safe to do this kind of experiences?
That's part of where I was going with that is start with your own thoughts. That's the thing you can do to be the safest is with your own thoughts. Fear is the only thing that can trap us. It's the only thing that can hold us back. And when we decide not to have that fear, then that's when we get to do the incredible things out of body. So to prepare for that, one, learn to meditate. Start meditating regularly. Listen to binaural beats for brainwave entrainment, and listen to other people talk about their experiences. There's so many different testimonials out there about out-of-body experiences and near-death experiences. And when you listen to those things, it prepares you to do this. You start to become more empowered, and you realize, okay, this is a natural part of who we are. And through that type of preparation, then when you lay down to do it, you're more prepared not to have an emotional response if you see something scary, or when you realize, oh my gosh, I'm floating above my body and I see myself on the bed. The preparation really has to come ahead of time, I think. And then every night when you go to do it, or whatever time of the day you're doing it, thank yourself, your higher self, your guides for assisting you, and state out loud, I'm not afraid. I'm going to have a conscious out-of-body experience, and I have no fear, and I will command my space if something gets in my way or scares me. You can really do that.
Yeah, uh, beautiful. And
I want to
Annette
say one
wrote
more
my
thing.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
It's really rare that something's going to try to get in your way.
Yeah.
And if they do, they're
Uh,
probably just more
it,
curious than anything.
uh, um, so Annette, she wrote, my soul consciousness has so many filters and lens to get through to reach my humble mind, sitting here listening. I've always had crazy, vivid dreams. Uh, what questions would Michelle want to answer? Like what kind of questions
You can ask
she can
me
ask?
anything you like. I'll be happy to answer it for you. But I'll address what you said as well, is that oftentimes those dreams that seem really vivid that you come back from, you're like, wow, I felt like I went somewhere, and that felt like a memory. It feels like a memory, not a dream. And there's organized structure to it. Oftentimes that is an out-of-body experience, but it can be difficult sometimes to tell between that and a dream. But generally, the vividness is something that lends itself to more like astral projection or out of body.
Mhm. Yeah, beautiful. And Raymond wrote, good evening. My experience, as well as hearing the reportage of others, is that all experiences, whether ordinary, daily, or nocturnal or altered states, rise and fall. would you say that there is an abiding reality within and without that knows no rising or falling?
Yeah, I think when we're outside of this body, it's not like that the way that it is here. And I think that if I'm interpreting that correctly, that rising and falling reminds me of just how energy flows in this world, in this realm, and that we have that polarity of ups and downs here. Outside of the body, it's not really like that. It's hard to imagine, but we don't have the same types of low energy waves that we get and trained on out there. It's more, again, we're just more sovereign when we're out. We feel more sovereign outside of this body, and we feel less affected by the energies around us when we're outside. I'm not sure if I interpreted that question correctly.
Yeah, Raymond, you can type your answer. And yeah, in the meantime, I have a question, like, so after we create that safe space and we feel ready to have this experience, what can we do? Like, for example, if someone who is not used to have those out-of-body experiences, what they can do to initiate that?
Yeah. So the key is you have to stay really still and you need to stay awake while your body goes to sleep. So basically, consciousness is able to leave the body when your body enters the REM state of sleep. For some people, it can happen right away. And for other people, it can take 90 minutes. I've talked to people, it can take 3 hours. We go through 90-minute cycles with our sleep. So 90 minutes is what a lot of people say. I've noticed that I've gotten so used to doing them that I start coming out just within a few moments of of trying to do it. And so again, you want to avoid caffeine. You want to lay down with the intention that we talked about, and then you want to be very still. What's going to happen is your body is going to at some point give you a signal to test you to see if you're going to move. And that's what happens before sleep paralysis happens. So, and not everyone experiences sleep paralysis, but it's very common. It is a gateway to having an out-of-body experience. So you lay very still and you resist any urge to move, to scratch. You might even have signals of pain that go through the body and or impulses like a nerve impulse. I remember once my leg just jumped up off the bed even though I was trying not to move it. So you just allow those feelings to go through you. And if your body can test you and find out, okay, they're not going to move, then you'll move into sleep paralysis. At that point, for many people, you end up with a really intense vibration that starts in the body. Bob Monroe talked about this, and he even looked at that vibration and discovered it was a 4 hertz vibration. And that's why we use 4 hertz binaural beats to help achieve this state. So you get a vibration. It almost feels like you're on something that's shaking like this. And that's the point, usually right before separation. That all being said, it can happen differently for other people. I remember once when I think the first time I tried it consciously, my eyes were closed and I just saw my right leg lift up out of my body, but I got so excited I came back in. For other people, myself included, is sometimes it feels like a rocking sensation within the body, almost like there's a second body that wants to lift out. And then if you can allow that to happen, you may end up with either a floating feeling or a feeling of going backwards. Either one of those things is separation. And so at that point, if that happens for you, get away from the body. You can look if you want, but the longer you stay next to the body, the magnetic pull it'll pull you back in. So you have to get as far away from the body as possible. I recommend go to a mirror and see if you can go through a mirror. If you get to the point where you're conscious and you're in sleep paralysis, that's really your opportunity right there to get out and to roll your consciousness out of the body. You would do it like when you can't move your body anymore, you do it with your intention. Like you not just your intention is what I meant to say. You actually try to move while you're in sleep paralysis, try to roll out of the bed and stand up. And that is the most common way that people will have a conscious out of body experience or controlled
Mhm.
one.
Beautiful. And yeah, maybe also you already answered now with Spannenberg's question who wrote, do you have any tips to stop your body from pulling you back in?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's getting away, right? That's the
yes,
biggest tip I can give you. It
yeah,
happens to people all the time. And then the other thing is if you get excited, whether you're happy, scared, no matter what the emotion is, that's a physical response. And so that will pull you back in as well. So you have to try to stay like really neutral and calm and just go.
uh, wonderful. And we have a question from Twisco on YouTube. Hi, Michelle and Monsef. I have a question about returning back to the body fully after traveling. It's something I've had challenges in the past. I've sort I've sort of remained out of body, and I've had challenges in getting back into my body.
What happens is sometimes that will happen and you'll end up out longer than you want to be, but the body will always come back online and pull you back in. It's just it'll go through a natural sleep cycle and when it's done, it'll pull you back in when you're ready to when your body is ready to wake up. So I would start with just more intention about, coming back to your body and saying it even out loud as, I'm going to have this conscious out of body experience and I will return right back to this room. And then think about what your room looks like. And that's the best advice I can give you on that.
Yeah,
You
beautiful.
will come back. And Bob Monroe actually talked about it, that he had an experience where he was out for a really long time. But that's the science of it, is you'll come back when your body's ready to wake up.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, go ahead. And thank you, Twisco, for your question. So, Linda wrote, any suggestions on retaining and remembering all that happens after the experience? Thank you. Great call.
Write it down as soon as you're awake. Write it down as soon as you remember it. Sometimes, even incredible experiences, people will forget them by the end of the day, or they'll forget the detail even when they think they won't. So, keep something next to your bed and write them down and go back and read them. Keep track of them. The more you do that, the more controlled things tend to get. And have the intention to remember it. I say it out loud. I will remember all of this when I come back. And that really does make a difference. Sometimes you're just going to forget though, because your consciousness is not in your body. You might not remember everything. So yeah, write it down.
Beautiful. Thank you, Michelle. And thank you, Linda. Um, Mia wrote, after my dad died, I had sleep paralysis, where an oval-shaped, basketball-sized dark energy held me down and made me feel fear. I was unable to move, talk, or anything. Scariest experience of my life.
I'm really glad you brought it up. So you're talking about sleep paralysis and a portal. And I'll even say that in case anyone here listens, it's a very common phenomenon to even see like dark hooded beings standing in your room. They made me, I screamed my whole life at these beings standing at the foot of my bed. But what I've come to realize is that they're not actually beings. They are a way that our consciousness shows us a portal. So you mentioned an oval, a dark oval, and you mentioned not being able to move. That's exactly the gateway. It's textbook what you described is you're in the sleep paralysis state, and if you go to that state again, and you try to move in that state, like just try to roll out of the body, that's generally the best way to get your consciousness out. But it sounds like you might have had some fear, and that will bring you back. So you're seeing a portal, and sometimes those portals can look really, really dark and like sticky almost. Uh, but if you go through it, that's the transition state out of this world. So letting go of fear is the biggest thing for all of us, I think, when it comes to this. And you see something like that and you don't understand what it is, and then you can't move, right? The first thing people think is, oh my gosh, there's a demon holding me down. But I don't think that's what's happening. I used to, but I don't anymore.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Michelle.
Mhm.
And Spanenberg and Linda both, they wrote, thank you. Mia wrote, like, haha, laughing. That's what I thought. I thought it was a demon.
We are programmed to think those kinds of things, right? It makes sense.
Yeah,
And if you grew up like me, I grew up in Catholic school and my teachers were all nuns. And so like that's the first thing you think of. But Truly, I do not think that's what's happening.
Yeah. And Raymond wrote, what about in the body experiences? Are these not equally important? What do you say is the actual relationship between mind and body? Are they diametrically opposed? Are they vitally connected?
I think that they're not diametrically opposed. They are very much connected. Um, in the body experiences are just as important, but they are different. Earlier, I mentioned what I see. I see it like a continuum where maybe somebody is remote viewing. They're laying there, their eyes are closed, and they can see something with their eyes closed just as clearly as they see it with their eyes open. That's just as valuable in many cases, if not more valuable in some cases, in terms of receiving information. It's just a different way of receiving information versus having an out-of-body experience where you're walking around talking with your dead grandmother and receiving information that way or having an experience that way. They're just different types of experiences where our consciousness can explore what we call non-local consciousness or go to other places other than what we call the physical. We can do that through astral travel. We can do it through remote viewing. We can do it through out-of-body experiences. But what I will say is that a controlled out-of-body experience is the ultimate way to explore your consciousness outside of this physical realm. Through my understanding, the classes I've taken and my experiences, when we are in a remote viewing space, we tend to view what's here in this realm, in this world we live, and the same in the astral plane. We see our own dimensional spaces, and we see closer what's connected to this realm. But in an out-of-body state, we can leave this construct completely and go to other worlds. So I think that's the difference. We can also remote view other worlds, but in general, people tend to stay closer to home, this earthly home, unless they're having a controlled out of body. Or I shouldn't say controlled, unless they're having a full-on out of body.
Yeah. Yeah, it really sounds exciting. And or maybe that can be like the first step to stay close to the known
Hmm.
home.
And I
And
and I
step
didn't.
by step,
Oh,
like build the courage. Yeah.
my apology.
Go ahead.
I didn't. I
Yes.
forgot to address the part about the mind and the body. The consciousness has to project itself somehow into what we call this physical reality, and we do it through the body, through the avatar. And so the mind is a projection of our thoughts or projection of our brain, right? It's a thought generator, but our consciousness is always interacting through our brain. You can think about it like this. When our body dies, we have our consciousness inhabiting the neurons, the array of energy within our brain. And when the brain is no longer available, that consciousness just leaves and inhabits the larger array of energy of all there is. So they're not at all opposed to each other. They work all the time together. And that's one of the reasons why psychic abilities are so subtle, because the mind is always trying to interpret what's coming in from outside.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you, Michelle. And thank you, Raymond. Um, so yeah, Raymond wrote, thank you, Michelle. Great time sharing. And
Thank you.
question from Iona on YouTube. I find when I close my eyes, I instantly see other experiences, beings, or portals. Does this mean I'm not fully in my body anyway?
Um, Not necessarily. So the first stage of remote viewing, the second stage of remote viewing, actually, the first stage of remote viewing where you're seeing outside of here is you just get a glimpse of something or an inkling about something. But the next thing that happens is you start to see colors. And those colors are really energies that your consciousness is perceiving. It usually will start out as purples and blues, which is just raw potential of energy that we can create with, or that will open up to something else. So basically, you start to see the colors, then a lot of people will start to see the faces. It kind of disappointed me at first to find out that those faces are actually projection of our own consciousness, but it doesn't mean it's not psychic or that we're not moving outside of this realm or this reality. What it means is that our consciousness or our brain are building something to allow something else to be seen. For instance, you may start to see just spaces one after the other, and that's generally your consciousness building a shape for something else to come in and communicate with you. And eventually, if you stay with it, you may end up having an interaction with another type of being, or you may end up having an out-of-body experience. So, uh, yeah, I think that's all I had to say on that, unless unless there's more that you'd like to me to clarify.
Yeah.
So it
Thank you,
sounds like you're
Michelle.
starting down that path, like remote viewing. You're welcome. And if you keep doing it and you just stay neutral, don't try to focus on it. Don't think about it. Just watch it and wait to see what happens. It will, if you stay awake, it will generally turn into something more and interactions with other beings as well.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Iona, for your question. And we have Sue. Can you please unmute yourself?
Hi, Moniseth. Hello,
Hi,
Michelle.
Sue.
My name is
Hi.
Sue. Okay, I have a question. Last couple nights, I've been having, like, I call them dreams, but I know I'm not here. But I've been going to different rooms with different people. It's almost like the same scenario for like the last 3 nights. And they're like telling me stuff and trying to teach me stuff. And then when I wake up in the morning, I still kind of have like those feelings like I was there. And I can remember vividly what was going down. But during the day, I could be laying, just resting myself. And this like real calm will come over me and a purple light. And I'm thinking, oh, spirit's coming. And they put me like into this real deep trance. And then when I open up my eyes, I can't move and stuff, but I will then see the angels or my guides. But I see them differently than I do when I'm dreaming at night. Why the difference? Why the difference? What state am I in then? In two different states?
Yeah, that's exactly what you just described. You're starting out with remote viewing, and phase two of remote viewing is when you start to see those colors, and then you're transitioning into probably a theta brainwave state, theta brainwave state, and you're transitioning consciousness from from here to outside of here, and that's how you're able to see those other beings like the angels. And
Mm-hmm.
it feels very different when you come back. I don't remember exactly how you described it, but like a memory, like you were really there. You had these conversations and they were really vivid. That does sound very much like out of body experience or astral travel to me.
Because then when I do it in the dream state, they're more whole and stuff than when I'm in the other state where I just see them like floating by.
Mhm.
And I was just wondering, like, the same pattern now, like the last 3 nights. Like, I'm in these, like, rooms, and they're just talking to me, but I don't kind of remember what they're saying, but
Mhm.
I almost have, like, the feelings from it. So I was just wondering if there's a connection there.
Yeah, and oftentimes we really just don't need to remember it because if we
Mm-hmm.
remembered it, we could have some resistance around what the messages were. But instead, if we come back with feelings, then we move forward with those messages through having new ideas and epiphanies and urges to do things differently. It's meant to be that way for us not to always completely remember. But that being said, the more you practice it consciously, the more you do tend to remember about it. So, one more thing I want to say about it, because this is happening to a lot of people right now, is we're having some sort of interesting type of life review, many of us, while we're still alive, where we're being visiting with different people and being shown different things in our life. And I think that we're at a really important time here in this realm where things are changing. There's a big psychic awakening happening. We're in the midst of a magnetic pole shift, lots of new energies coming through. And some people call it the ascension. And I think that we are receiving information around what we need to for us to move forward in whatever way that is for us. And when you talked about being in the different rooms with different people, that's what that sounded like to me.
Right. And the last thing is that my two girlfriends, I know they're basically somewhat in transitioning, and I know I'm going to lose them. They came to me the one night, both of them together. They were like in a car. And I said, well, did you come to pick me up? They go, no, you can't go with us. We're just going on vacation. And I'm like, okay. And at first it didn't register. And then the next day I was thinking, I had a dream twice. And they said, you know why you can't go with us? So I think it's just a matter of when they'll be leaving. But they were basically saying goodbye, but they looked really good in the car compared to how they look now here on Earth. But they were almost telling me already that I'm going to have two losses.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that happens for you. And I do think that that happens. I've heard that story many times, that someone had a visitation from like the higher self of a person before they died. And it can be very helpful to have that preparation.
Right. And I know it was just kind of like, wait a minute. And I was like, did they die? No, I know they're still alive, but they were basically coming to say goodbye, we love you, because in this state it'd be more difficult for them. And but
that's beautiful.
I think they're transitioning. It's just a matter of when they decide to let go.
Yeah, it can take a little while for that to happen.
Yeah, it's been a couple months now. Yeah. The one was close to it, but she decided to stay for a while yet. So we'll see what happens. But I was wondering, like they were just, I guess, I could say, like they were warning me because it was at night. It was in that night state.
And it may not even be that they were warning you. It may just be that you were out of your body and just picking up on that reality. And that's how you remember it. That's how you perceived it through the brain.
Okay. But them being in a car saying, they're going on a vacation or whatever. And I said, well, I want to go too. They said, no, you can't.
That sounds to me like the brain gave you some imagery that you could recognize, like a metaphor. And so the more I think about it, the more it sounds like you were just picking up on what's happening outside or the potential, because time as we see it linearly here is not really how it is. We could think of it as more simultaneous out there. So I think you were picking up on outside of here. Not necessarily that they gave you a message, just that you were seeing what was happening.
Yeah, and it's in other words, if something would happen, it wouldn't be like a big shock. It would be like, okay.
Right.
So that, in a way, I was just wondering if that was just like almost like a psychicness on me.
It does sound like it. It does.
Oh, it'll be interesting.
Pay attention. You're welcome. Thank you for the questions.
Pay attention to it.
Pay attention to it. Keep track of it if it happens more. Keep a log. Keep a journal.
Oh, okay. I will.
Because if you're having a psychic hit, it'd be interesting to see if you're having other ones. And the more you journal that and keep track of it, the more apparent it becomes.
Yeah, because other stuff has been happening. And I'm like, I told you it was going to happen that way. It just comes to me and it happens that way. Minor things. And I'm like, okay. And I kind of like say, thanks. I tell Spirit, thanks for telling me.
Absolutely.
But I just tell them and say, thanks for the info.
That's what I do too.
Thank you very much. At least that explains some of the stuff that's going on.
Happy to help you.
Thank you very much, and blessings to you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Modeseth, and blessings and lots of love to you too. Take care.
You too as well. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much, Michelle. And Iona on YouTube wrote, thank you. And so also, I would like if we can take some time to talk about the one-on-one sessions that you are offering. So for those who would like to work with you on private sessions. So we are offering 3 60 minutes private sessions. The first one is psychic medium reading. Second one is mentoring for psychic and spiritual growth. And the third one is Sacred Light Code Activation. And I invite everyone to visit the page, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Michelle, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Michelle, Michelle. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live events page, later on the replay page. The link also on YouTube video description, and I will add it to the chat boxes as well. So yeah, so Michelle, I would love if you can tell us about these sessions.
Sure. Sure. Thank you, Montef. Psychic readings, you can ask me anything. I look at current situations in your life, what could be happening with regard to your psychic abilities and spirituality, if you need help with that, figuring out what that is. I look at past life as well. So some people come to me with a list of specific questions. Other people just want to see what comes up. Some people come to me because they want to get in touch with someone who has left this world. And so I do all of that. And um, the psychic development mentoring is not as much like a reading. It's more like I help you with what you're working on and give you clarity on what's happening, help you in just whatever way you want to move forward with learning how to use your psychic abilities more consciously. And I give people exercises and practices to do. And then sacred light code activation is a way that I work with you to get you to speak the language of your own soul. And I do some energy work on you, and I have you repeat certain words that spirit gives me in light language. And it's really been an incredible journey because almost every single person has started to speak light language when they hear it. And it's just, it's one of our most basic and misunderstood and underused tools that we have spiritually to raise our vibration and to allow ourselves to become more psychic. So that's the third session, is the session where we work together for an hour to get you to speak your own light language.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Michelle. And yeah, like I mentioned in the beginning, like I received feedback, like really amazing experiences that some of our audience works with you in the past. And so really thank you for being available to our audience, for offering your service and support to them. So thank you very much. And yeah, so again, everyone, the link is yourdivineuniqueness.com/Michelle, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Michelle, Michelle. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live events page, later on the replay page. The link also on YouTube video description and the chat boxes. And let's see. So we have Linda. She wrote, years ago, while going through a very challenging and rather volatile divorce, I experienced beings trying to attack me during my sleep. In the morning, I woke up with actual bruises on my body. Scary, I am no longer in that space, and my dreams are more magical and of a higher vibration in nature. May I embody my higher self or angelic aspects of myself, of my more benevolent self during this time from sleep into the awakened state. I hope this makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. And it makes a lot of sense that that happened to you during a really difficult time in your life where you were going through a divorce. Two things come to mind. One is that a lot of times our consciousness will show us our biggest fears out there in our dream states or our sleep states or astral states. And it's to help us move forward and to let go of things or to learn certain things. But the other thing that can happen, want to be fearful about this at all, because there is no other entity that can control us. Fear is the only thing that can control us. And so they can sense if someone is in a weakened state. This is not all that common, but it can happen that they'll sense that someone's in a weakened state and they'll stick around to see if that person will buy into the telepathy that they have to offer. So they may show you something scary, or you may see them in a scary way. And if you allow that fear to take over you, then you generate frequencies of energies that might want an entity to stick around. That's way less often than actually our consciousness showing us what we're fearful of to help us move forward, or just the way the brain processes through information. So you also said that once things got better, you felt a lot better, and that makes total sense. Your nervous system probably wasn't very well regulated during that divorce time. Most people's wouldn't be, and now it's probably doing better. And so it makes sense that you wouldn't see scary things the same way anymore. But I want to say to anyone who's listening to this, if you ever do encounter something that does seem like it's coming after you or trying to scare you or grabbing at you, just say no. Just say no. They will get out of the way. There's no being that doesn't respond to us commanding our space. And this goes for even babies. I've heard people tell me stories from when they were just little babies in cribs and they happen to remember like something coming into the room and them saying, "You can't be here, get out," like with their brain, and the being will leave. And you can do that exact same thing in an out-of-body state. Someone just said last week they encountered two big beings with cat heads standing in front of them. And they thought, "Oh no, I'm blocked." And they said, "Move." And they just moved out of the way. And that is a very common story. They will get out of our way. So if anyone listening to this is encountering anything scary and you really feel like it's trying to interact with you, you literally can just say no and you can control that space. You have full sovereignty to do that and it will work. If you have fear, it will not work. So you need to come from that place of empowerment with it. But Linda, it sounds very reasonable to me that you had those experiences during such a difficult time. I'm glad it resolved.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, Michelle. Thank you, Linda, for your question and sharing your experience. Much love. And Svetlana, can you please unmute yourself? And yeah, so first, Linda Sherrod, thank you. How empowering. Bless you for your response. Thank you, Linda. Hi, Svetlana.
First of all, I would like to say thank you, Michelle, that for your explanation about colors, because when I hear voices, but I see just colors blue or purple, and I have tried very hard to see someone or something, and when you explain that it's our consciousness, our imagination, that we can see like angels or someone, but it's just energies, then I understood that I have to be easy to myself and not wait for that I will see like some beings. And but my question is today about nightmares. So it's also a bit same question, but in my case, I have seen nightmares during many years now. When I moved to other country, then I began to see nightmares, and when I go to bed, I meditate in heart meditation, and then I put protection and from my love energy. And most of nights, some nights, it's when I woke up, I hear voices, and it's purple color. But some days it's just nightmares, and I wake up very tired. And how can I change this situation?
Yeah, well, I'd like to ask you, is your life pretty peaceful otherwise? Or
No.
is it there's something difficult happening, is what I
Yeah.
picked up on?
I can't relax as well as when I lived in my country, home country. Yeah.
Fear was the first thing that came to me when you started to speak, and that there was the nightmares had something to do with processing through fears, is what that felt like. But at the same time, you're also perceiving you're starting the remote viewing process, and it sounds like you're seeing angels and other beings outside of this reality. So your consciousness is switching its focus from the body and this world to outside. And when you start to see those colors, that's when you're starting that progression from here to outside of here. The purples and the blues, those are just raw potential of energy. When they start shifting, like green, it becomes more coherent. You may start seeing sparks of light, and you may even then see like a portal open, or a circle or a hole open, and then there'll be information inside of there, whether it be traveling over a landscape or interacting with other people. But I think the nightmares are related to something that's happening deep within your psyche around fear. But at the same time, you also have an ability to view outside of this reality. And if that were happening, is happening to a person, I could see where like there'd be like some confusion about what's going on, like, what's my mind and what's outside of here. I could see that you might be, those things could be bleeding together for you. Am I addressing this in the
Yeah,
proper
you are
way?
right. And I have work a lot on myself. So
Mhm.
I'm trying to to get out of the fears and
Yeah.
all this traumas, because I agree with you 100% that we can't. It's not good to communicate with other beings if you're in fear, because you will attract same beings and same fears. And do you have
Yeah.
some advice how
Mhm.
to get out from the fears?
Yeah, to consciously state it every night or every time you lay down to meditate or sit to meditate, consciously state that nothing can harm me unless I have fear, and I have no fear. Say that. Then find ways to start regulating your nervous system in daily life. So for me, I made a series of binaural beats because I like to experiment with my own consciousness. Then I realized that they help everybody. And so get some theta or delta binaural beats. There are many on my website, and there are other places you can get them, but start training your brain waves to go into a relaxed state where fear doesn't seem to interact as much with us, or we don't seem to be as fearful in those states. We're able to let go more. And then try something like nervous system regulation breathing. So for instance, the Heart Math Institute found out that when we breathe in for 5 seconds and out for
Yeah,
5 seconds
I do
repeatedly,
this
right?
every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So add to that the conscious statements, the affirmations, and then regulate your brain waves with I mean, the technology is called brainwave entrainment, and it will take you out of, for us to be in fear, we're in a thinking state, right? We're in a sympathetic nervous system state, and we're in a thinking beta brainwave state. So if you train your brain to go down to alpha, theta, and then delta, then it's much, much easier not to connect with that fear, and to have a more authentic exploration without your consciousness projecting things.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I hope that helps you.
Yeah, thank you.
It sounds like you're just right there at the doorway, at the gateway of having more conscious out of body experiences if you stick with it. And
I would like
it,
to say that I began to have this out body experience in 2021.
Mhm,
And everything that you described resonates with me a lot, because I was in fear. It was even more. It was very hard times, and I was mostly in depression. And when I closed eyes, I was left my body automatically, and I was in this tunnel with light.
mhm,
I couldn't sleep, because when I closed eyes, I flew direct,
mhm,
and it was different colors. And because I was in fear, I saw this dark energies, and I
mhm,
saw this not light beings. But when you describe today that I thought it's were demons. But when you describe today that it was my fears, and it
mhm,
was my so yeah. And now it's more when I out of my body, so it's more peace, and I don't see any beings, but it's more like I'm in cosmos. I see like sky and planets and stars.
Yeah.
Mm.
So try the next thing. Try to say where you want to go. Just say, I command to be taken to.
I do this.
Yeah,
And I travel. I say where I would like to travel, and I fly to this dimension. But as I said, I wanted very much to see someone. That's why but I see just colors.
Mhm.
So I don't see like real angels or something. I see I feel I see sparks.
Mhm.
All these energies, but
You just have a little ways to go still, but you're heading in that direction. Don't stop. Keep with it, because I think that you're very close to that place where you're going to have those interactions more consciously.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Svetlana. Mia, she wrote, wow, this show is so helpful. Yeah, so so Michelle, before we complete the call today, would you like to share any message to our audience?
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here. This is already happening to all of us all the time. We're really not even in this body. We're consciousness projecting into this realm using this avatar to have this experience. We are far from home and we have forgotten who we are. And that's the purpose of this reality, is to forget who we are, to have this experience, to help our souls grow. Spirit recently told me that just even learning to use a human body is such an amount of soul growth. They likened it to when a baby starts to learn to use its arms and legs, how that grows the brain really fast. And they told me that when we come into this body, as difficult as it is, that it grows our soul in that exact same way. Remember that death is only a manifestation of this physical, what we call physical avatar, and we are much more physical outside of this body. And we have full control, and we are also creating this reality right now with our thoughts. And in the out-of-body state, you can actually see people's thoughts as things. We don't realize it here, but because we don't see it building in the energy field, but every thought we think is building something. And I've seen it outside of here. I know it's real that we're doing that. And so remember that with every thought that you have, you're creating and you're building and you're growing your soul. These experiences are not paranormal. They're not weird. It's weird that no one told us about it, but it's naturally who we are. It's already happening. You can learn to control it. And when you do that, like you said earlier, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, Savannah.
Svetlana.
Svetlana, you can fly. You can literally like lift up and fly and go to other places and go to other worlds and talk to people who have died. It doesn't happen overnight. You have to practice for a while to do that, but this is just who we are. And if I get nothing else across today, you're already doing it. So why not try it consciously and find out what it's like to be outside of the body while you still have a body? It takes the fear of life away.
Yeah, very beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Michelle, for the message, for everything you shared today, and also the support you gave to our audience. Yeah, it was quite fascinating, very powerful call, very loaded. So thank you for that. And yeah, so always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being here. I avoided talking about this for a lot of years due to my mainstream background. And I'm just so happily embracing it now and finding out that so many people are having these experiences. And it truly makes me feel like I'm living my purpose to talk about it. And I'm very grateful to be here. Thank you all.
Thank you, Michelle. And Raymond wrote, thank you, myself, Michelle, and all beautiful friends for being here now at this very moment. How wonderful. Svetlana, thank you very much for help and such great information. And Linda wrote, thank you, Michelle and myself. Grateful to you both for this wonderful call. Yeah, thank you, Linda, Raymond, Svetlana, and thank you, everyone, for being here. for sharing with us this time, this space, your beautiful energies. Yeah, again, you can find and sign up for the sessions, the private sessions that Michelle is offering to us on the link yourdivineuniqueness.com/Michelle, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Michelle, MICHELLE. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live events page, later on the replay page, and the link also on YouTube video description and the chat boxes. And we have 3 one-on-one sessions of 1 hour each, psychic medium reading, mentoring for psychic and spiritual growth, and sacred light code activation. And yeah, so with that, everyone, I'm sending you so much love, and I will see you on the next call. Bye for now.
Thank you.